of Renegade Winters. And so, hi, Kristen. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you.
So today we are talking about your upcoming trip. So I know you postponed it. Was there a reason you postponed it, and what's going on with that?
Yeah, so what we're talking about here is not like the big trip, but a little trial trip. We got to take the RV out so we can test some things. We can talk about that. And we were planning to go this weekend. Well, actually, we were originally planning to go spring break the last weekend of March, but that's when, everything shut down. And we were planning to take the RV to the Oregon coast, which is just like maybe an hour or so from home, because we wanted to stay fairly close because this was just like a test trip, right? But everything shut down, so we couldn't go. And then I found out like a couple weeks ago that the state of Washington, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from us, had they consider private RV parks to be essential, and so those weren't closed down. And so we were going to take our trial trip up there. Well, we had it scheduled for this weekend, and here's what happened is that we are also in the midst of getting our house ready to sell.
Right.
And so we right in this exact moment, they are putting on the new roof of the house so that it can get listed next week. And we realized that the timing was like we needed to be home this weekend to do, all those little things you have to do when you're selling a house, like maybe touch up some wall paint, and the photographers are going to come early next week to do all the staging photographs. And we're like, we really need to get everything ready for that.
Yeah.
And so we just postponed it to next weekend, and that should work out well.
Nice.
But very excited to go.
Yeah.
We are. I found a really great looking little campground up near Mount St. Helens. So again, it's still just maybe like an hour and a half from home or so. And little RV park that's right on a lake with kind of little, I don't know, canal thing. So we also can get out and like test out our kayaks we just bought and make sure we like those before we, pack them up and take them on the road. Because we're still in that window of time, where if there's things that don't really work or we don't really like, we can still send them back to Amazon. So
are these new kayaks or just ones that you haven't used?
Yeah, we actually, and it was a kayak that was recommended by another full-time RV family that we had watched on YouTube, and they are inflatable kayaks, which, I originally kind of didn't want to go inflatable because I don't think they're quite as good in a lot of ways, but the people that reviewed them said they were, had a positive review. So we're like, well, we'll give it a try.
That's great.
So that's why I'm saying I'd like to get out there and test them out though, before we're just like stuck with those as our only option.
Yeah.
And that's just one example. There are so many things that we are buying to put in the RV or use. I know some of it we've talked about when we did the tour last week, but just lots of little gadgets or organizational pieces, even, really like components of the RV that we upgraded. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to install it and like maybe turn on the faucet for a second, but it's another thing to go spend 4 days using the shower and using the sink and all the heating. We need to get in there and use it so that if anything's not working properly, we can get it fixed before we're like 2 states away and having to figure out what to do.
Yeah. And I just remember last time that Gary was saying that it's a good idea that you have the RV for a while before you're moving into it, because there are things that happen that you need to change and adjust, but also fix. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like I said, it's different just fixing them in the garage, or not garage. It does not fit in the garage, in the driveway.
Really
different to do things in your driveway than like actually get out there and use it, flush the toilets, sleep in the bed, all the things that you got to kind of give it some real rough wear and tear, if you will, to see how things work. And that's not to say that, there's going to be things that have to be fixed all the time as we go. So it's not like that'll be done, but yeah.
So are the big things that you're looking to test out the shower and the bed and things like that, or the engine? What else are you testing?
It really is kind of like A to Z, just need to use it all. So you have so many systems in a motorhome because it's like all the systems that you have in a vehicle, and then plus all the systems you have in a house. So, you have your heating and air conditioning, and you have all the electrical things. And then in the motorhome, you know, electrical is a lot different than in a house because we have solar power that charges the batteries, and then we also have propane power, and we also have electrical power. And so like there's all these different things that work together. And absolutely, you know, the engine, it has been driven around, so we get that, but there's the generator, there's all the plumbing. So you have your fresh water that comes in, you have the gray tank, which is all your used sink water, and then you have the black tank, which is all the toilet water, the used toilet water, right? And so there's all this like making sure those things work. And Gary's done a lot of research on getting pieces and parts that are either easier to use or more convenient or more sanitary. So he's really worked hard to make that part of our experience of like dealing with all of our own waste and that kind of thing, you know, to be as simple and as clean and as easy as possible. And so again, but all those things are great. You can install them when it's clean, you know, but like then when you're actually using it is when you figure out, okay, maybe this isn't going to work just the way I thought it was, or I'm going to have to get an extra component to add to this. And we just believe that that'll be at least a little easier to try and figure out as much as we can on the front end of this. Once we're traveling, we fully intend that not only will there still be things that need to be fixed, but we'll still probably buy new stuff from Amazon and Walmart and figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
But obviously the more we can do now, the better and the easier it'll be.
That's great. And then let's talk about, so you have this event coming up next week. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. I'm so excited. I'm going to start my event called Wealth, Health, and a Life Well Lived. And actually that has been like the tagline for my business, my personal financial advising business for quite a long time. And I really love how that's been my tagline even before we embarked on this journey to do full-time traveling. But this concept of a life well lived, I think is, it can mean a lot of different things to different people, and that's what makes it so special. And, you know, for me, a lot of that living life well has to do with family. It has to do with wealth and health, and it has to do with adventure and going outside my comfort zone and, you know, challenging myself. And so it really ties in, I think, to what we're doing with Renegade Winters. And so the event is all about just getting like-minded people together who want to share ideas, who want to learn in these areas. And so each week might take on a slightly different shape, but that's really the idea behind it, is like connecting people who are interested in learning about building wealth, about improving their health, and about living their best life.
Love it. I love it. And so, you know, because of what you do as a financial advisor, I mean, like, you get these questions all the time, right? And so they're about wealth, they're about Renegade Winters and RV and living full time in an RV and your family. So, you know, what are some of the things that inspire you to have an event like this? Like, what are some of the questions that you get pretty regularly?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of questions that I get regularly all the time, which we can talk about. And then especially right now, of course, a lot of people have on their mind about health and how we can stay healthy in the midst of a pandemic, right? And then also with being all in quarantine and life is kind of taken on different shape. Maybe your gym is closed, and, you know, so how can we continue to take care of ourselves and be healthy, even if we're not able to kind of keep the same routines that we had before? And then again, on the wealth side, during this pandemic, we've certainly seen a lot of disruption to typical financial practices where people, maybe their income has completely stopped or shrunk significantly, and how can they manage their financial goals and their day-to-day financial life in those circumstances? That's a really common one right now. And then the generic kind of really common financial questions. And here's an example, is if I have debt, but I also need to build up my emergency fund, which one should I do first? That's a really common question that I have. No. And so here's another one. How do I work from home when I have kids? Here's a really common question. How can I balance my business or my job and my kids at home? And that's something that I'm dealing with just as much as anyone else. And I've got a cutie there outside my door making faces at me. So it's the whole idea is like we're all in this together, and maybe we have different opinions or ideas about coronavirus or about, self-educating our kids, all these different things. We might come from a different place, but how can we maybe connect and share ideas or build each other up, and form a community around this idea of financial security and taking care of ourselves, and really just finding whatever it is that makes you feel like your life is well lived.
Wonderful. So I want to dive into that some more. So I feel like it would be good to talk a little more about who this person is who should be coming to this event, right? So obviously they want to have a life well lived, or they are working to improve, these different areas of their lives. And so what are some of the other triggers that tell you, oh, this person, would really benefit from being here?
Yeah. Well, I think that the type of person who would really benefit are the ones who, and I hear this a lot, where if I share maybe what we're about to do is to go move into this RV and travel the 50 states with our family. And the response is often something like, oh, I would love to do that. Oh, I wish we could. Or that's something I've been dreaming about doing someday. That's the person who I would love to come to this event. Because if you have, and it might not be moving into an RV or traveling full time, it might be something else. It might just be that you've always wanted to learn to play the guitar, or just something that life sort of gets in the way of our dreams sometimes. And so that's, what I would say is the trigger. Like there's something out there that you really want to do, or that you're passionate about, but maybe something's holding you back from it. A lot of times I find that that's a financial barrier that people have. And so because this whole event is going to be around money and health and adventure, it all kind of ties together. So I really want to help people to find ways or see how they can move beyond a barrier that might even be self-imposed, or might be something that perhaps you have more control over than you realize, if we just open our minds to the possibility.
And I'm not sure if you have this kind of set in stone or anything, but I'm just curious, what kind of structure is this meeting going to have?
It's not set in stone. I kind of envision right now it being a little bit flexible depending on what the interest is and what the topics are. So there could be some times where maybe I'll share information that could be useful on a particular topic. Like I was actually brainstorming some ideas, and I was thinking maybe some ideas on how couples can be better about communicating around finances. And especially right now where sometimes in a lot of cases we're home together, like husband, wife, or partners, we're home together more often than we have been. And then there might be added financial stress if one or both partners are out of work. And so talking about how couples can communicate around money might be an idea of a topic. And that could be a lot of discussion and a lot of sharing what people are going through, or the challenges or questions they have. And then I might maybe offer, 3 or 4 tips, like how we can improve communication around money with our spouse or partner. That's just kind of an example of something where we might involve group discussion, but sometimes it might be a little presentation. Maybe I'll share a little slideshow with 5 ways you can, honor your self-care during quarantine, or there'll be a lot of good stuff, but it's still coming down the pipeline here.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
So I know, because you and I have been working on this. So, the event itself is wealth, health, and a life well lived. And then each week you'll have a different theme, right? So it's kind of like what we were talking about. And so this first one we named Thriving During COVID-19. So it's like getting past that survival stage, right? So some people they're feeling the stress, they're feeling the weight, or their spouse is laid off or furloughed, or they're worried about that sort of thing, or they're wondering, do they have enough savings to last during this time that is in limbo? And so there's a lot of questions there. And so that's kind of what I was thinking as far as the questions people might have in next week. Then after that, week to week, people will have different topics and you have different things that you can add. And so the week after that could be, the couples communicating about finances, or like you said, so the 5 ways to honor your self-care during quarantine. Those are great examples. And so if you're watching this and you're thinking about it and you have some ideas, go ahead and throw them into the comments. I mean, this is kind of where brainstorming happens. It's so much better with more people and so much fun. So if there are things you're curious about, especially for Kristen on her trip with Renegade Winters, and it's not a trip, it's like a lifestyle, right? Then, write them into the comments. Definitely talk about them, and especially during the event itself. I'm sure, Kristen, you'll probably be like making note of what people are asking and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd really love to have feedback from participants on what they would like to discuss, or questions, challenges that they're going through, so we can really bring that to the forefront and just build community around the ideas.
Wonderful. Wonderful. What are some other ideas you have for this coming up in the next few weeks?
Oh, sure. Put me on the spot like that.
If you don't want, it's just brainstorming ideas.
Yes, brainstorming ideas. So, well, I have been thinking about, I have a blog where I have some really, I think, a lot of fun topics that kind of relate around personal finance. And so I think there's a lot that I'll be able to pull from that. And like that one I mentioned about, well, is it better to pay off debt first or build savings first? Because there could be some pretty strong opinions on that one way or the other. And I have opinions on that too, and some basis to it. So that's part. And then I think that a lot of family stuff, I think probably what I've been, some of the biggest struggles, if you will, for me during all of this coronavirus and quarantine has been balancing my mom role with my business role and running a household.
I put that back up there because I was like, oh, this is just perfect timing. So yes. Being a mom with the kids at home in quarantine, being a mom who has her own companies, and so dealing with that. But you also mentioned paying off debt first, or building savings, or is it building your emergency fund? Okay.
Yeah, emergency fund. And then also what I was talking about at the beginning, kind of that idea of like, how can we break down barriers that have been holding us back from big dreams and goals? I think that that'll be a really interesting topic. I'd love to hear from people and share in that vein of like, I think we grow up, as children, we have these big ideas about what our life will be like, or we just get so excited about adventures we could take. And then unfortunately, sometimes the reality of life sets in. It's like, those things are great, but maybe I don't have enough money, or, well, I can't take enough time off of work because my boss wouldn't let me, or, there's just a whole slew of things that can get in the way of us really living our ideal life. And how can we, even if it's taking small steps toward them? So that's a big one. I'd love to talk about the pathway.
Keep up now.
Oh,
that one. So break down barriers from achieving your dreams, and then you said living your ideal life. So I love that one too. See, these are all great.
I know. And then I have a new one. I really want to talk about the pathway to entrepreneurism. Like, if you're an employee but you'd love to have a business, and how could you transition from working a job where you rely on that paycheck from somebody else to having a career where you own your business and control your time? I would love to have a conversation around that transition, both logistically as well as the mindset of going from employee to entrepreneur.
Okay. Yeah, that is super common right now. I feel like everybody's realizing, wait a minute, okay, I was in a job or was laid off, and if I had my own business, then that might not be the case. And so it actually turns out, I was talking to a former client of mine who said she was laid off in the last couple weeks, and there is a program with the unemployment office in Oregon where you can spend 40 hours a week building your business and still stay on unemployment.
Oh, that's cool.
That encourages people to start their own businesses.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Well, and I'm pretty sure that you have to be like making a certain amount of money from your own business anyway before you are kicked off unemployment. Isn't that right? So most businesses don't take off, in the first week. You got to spend a little time. So that's very cool, though. I love that there's a program in place. Yay.
I think so this is just, now I'm kind of brainstorming with you on this. I was thinking one of the things that I'm hearing a lot from you is it's not just that we're not going after things, but the things that we're going after maybe aren't very big anymore, and so you and Gary are like this symbol of like, here, we're going to take the stand. We're going to go big. We're just going to go ahead and do it, and we'd like you to join us in this living a better life. That's kind of what I'm hearing through this. And I call it just like dream bigger,
Yeah, I think you're hitting it right on the head. I mean, our particular dream might not align with another person's, but it's like meaningful to us, and for what we want to do, taking this huge leap of faith to do something absolutely extraordinary, from our perspective, it is huge. And I've said it before, it's not that I expect everyone to do what we're doing, or that traveling full time is somehow better than somebody else's dream. It's just that whatever your dream is, don't hold back from it. And that what you said about dream bigger, think bigger, I think that this is sort of the way I see it, is that we tend to shrink our dreams to fit the size of our opportunity, or the size of our income, if you will. Like if you're earning a certain salary, then your dreams, what you think of, we've kind of shrunk it to fit within that, because it's painful, psychologically, to have some big, huge, fat dream that you have conditioned yourself to believe could never come true, or that it's not possible. And if we're still attached to something that we want out there that we believe we never could have, then that creates this discord in our mind and in our psyche that creates pain and discomfort. And as human beings, we will go to great lengths to avoid discomfort. And the easiest path to avoid the discomfort of not achieving a big dream is to eliminate it and to shrink it down. So like for a lot of families, the fact that they take one week vacation per year, a lot of people have accepted and really convinced themselves that that's enough, and that that's great. That if we can take 1 week and take our family to Disneyland, or wherever, maybe it's just to go visit the family on the other side of the country, but that fits into our budget and fits into our life. And I'm not saying that a 1 week vacation is bad. I'm just saying, is that truly all you would do if money and time were no issue? Is a 1 week vacation out of the year truly what you would be satisfied with? And I know traveling, this is just one example, but that's kind of the question, is if you had no limitations on money or time, are you really satisfied with that lifestyle, or is it something bigger? And if it is something bigger or more, why box ourselves in to just what's possible because of the career salary that we have? Or there certainly are other ways out there.
Yeah, I must run in different circles because I know a lot of people who have really big dreams. So it's definitely not within the box, which I love, which is must be also what drew us together, because I totally get that.
Totally. Yes.
Well,
and let me be clear too, that people who would come to my event, I think, are the ones who have the really big dreams, and that they are fully aware that they have the big dream and they want to figure out how to get it. Someone who's already convinced themselves that the 1 week vacation is plenty, they probably aren't going to necessarily resonate with what we're doing on my event,
Yeah. So
unless they're ready to break out of that.
What was that?
Unless they're ready to break out of that and they're recognizing that they've shrunk their dreams and they want to take it further.
Right. So, I mean, one of the things you said earlier, this is not what you want. So you said we shrink our dreams to fit the size of our salary. That's something that you want to help people stop doing. This is what people traditionally do, to make themselves feel more comfortable and more content. But I think that, what you're saying is there's another way. Hey, here's some other things you can do. The way around this.
The way around it, Molly, is to grow your salary, if you will, or grow your income to fit the size of your dreams. And how you do that, there could be a whole myriad of different ways, but it's more of a mindset of, I have these big dreams, so I got to figure out a way to get them. And it really all starts with the belief that we as individuals actually control our circumstances and not the other way around.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite people that I listen to is Ramit Sethi. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
Well, he usually says that basically all of those financial experts that tell you not to buy that cup of coffee, he says that's ridiculous. Like, all you need to do is make more money. So it's not about saving more and saving more and saving more. Will only get you so much. So I'm not saying like don't save, but that's the only path. So
well, I'm a huge proponent that it's both, right? It's like we need to be mindful of our spending, but we also need to figure out how to increase our income. And honestly, when you do it both at the same time, then you're like getting further ahead.
Yeah.
But I'm never like, as a financial advisor, I'm never the one who is saying that we need to live like paupers in order to have the future we want, because we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, this all ties together, right? With even what Gary and I are doing with our family. If my mentality was like, it's all about saving for the future, then we wouldn't be taking this trip, because it's going to be a huge expense, right? Yeah. So it's like this balance between living for your values and living the quality of life you want, but not at the expense of the future you want. So it really is, it's like you have simultaneous goals going on at the same time. And so where I do have an issue is where people are buying the coffee or other, just crap, sorry. But they don't have any plan for their future. They're not saving, they're not investing, they're buying all the stuff they don't need.
How do people find out and sign up?
Well, it's right on our Renegade Winters Facebook page. And I imagine you probably have the magical tools to post a link to it there in the comment.
No, go to your page.
Yeah, it's
when is it for people?
Sorry, what?
When is it?
Oh, it's next Thursday at 2:00 Pacific time. It'll be virtual, of course. Probably about a 1 hour chat, and planning to do that every Thursday at 2:00. So
awesome.
Hope to have you come join us.
Awesome. So before we sign off, anything else you want to say to everybody?
Thanks for watching. I appreciate the support and the interest in what we're doing, and hope to see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.